Hi everyone, it's Ashley. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. So tonight I wanted to come in and make something for myself. I saw this design of a t-shirt and I was just immediately drawn to it, and I knew that I wanted to make it for myself. You know, it's one of those things, it's like as soon as I saw it, my first thought was, I love it. And then my second thought was, I can totally make that, right? So here I just have a comfort color shirt. This is from Hobby Lobby. It is in a 2X because I like my shirts a little oversized. And it was $19.99, but I believe that they're like always 30% off or something. I think it came out to like $13. So this is in the blue jean color, and it's just this really pretty kind of washed out blue that I really like, and I really like for fall. So I got this and I immediately knew what design I wanted to put on it. So let's go ahead. I cut out my designs that I want to put on my shirt. I will be showing you guys in Design Space how I kind of design this, but let's go ahead and get all of our pieces weeded out. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my heat press while I do that so that can heat up, and let's get this weeded out. So this should be a pretty easy design to weed. It's just text, and I find that iron-on is usually really easy to weed in general, so this should go pretty smoothly here. And I love this white one is the glitter iron-on. I've used it a few times on my channel. I use it pretty much anytime I do an iron-on project. It is great. I love this iron-on. It's so pretty, and to me it just gives it like a little extra something. It's not just white. It's glitter, but it's not like super over the top, like obnoxious glitter. It just gives it a little something. And like I said, I really like this iron-on. It works really nicely, and I feel like it's not super thick. So it's like when you wear it, it's not like you have this huge piece of like glitter iron-on on your chest that's like stiff, you know. It's, I don't know, it just seems like it wears really nicely and it washes nicely. So I have been very, very happy with this iron-on. So just getting our first piece done here, I will clean up my scraps. You want to be very careful when you're working with iron-on with your scraps, because you don't want to accidentally get one on and then press it. So just being very careful. So this is our first little piece. As you can see, it says motherhood. That came out perfectly. And then my second piece here, this is on just some Hobby Lobby gray iron-on. I've had it for a while, and this is actually the last little piece I have of it. And if you guys, and when you guys watch the Design Space portion of this, you'll see that I had this all attached so that it all would cut together. But my piece of vinyl actually wasn't big enough for that. So I had to go back in and unattach it and kind of cut this in two different pieces, just because I'm literally using like the last little piece I have of this. So I had to kind of just work with what I had and cut my design in a way that it would work for the piece that I had, right? So just working slowly, I'm just gonna go through and kind of pull this away from our carrier sheet here. You wanna be careful, but like I said, our easy press is ready. Iron-on is generally pretty forgiving, so just give yourself lots of grace here. Take your time. There's nothing you can do that can't be fixed. Like, see right here, I literally just tore my carrier sheet. No problem. Not an issue. And I know it is so frustrating to like waste materials, but trust me, there really is nothing that you can do that you can't fix. You know, you can either recut it, you can kind of pivot and change your design a little. Just roll with it. All right, so then just going back through, grabbing all our little middles here. And I just, oh my goodness, I could not wait to get this on a shirt. I was able to go to Hobby Lobby and pick up a shirt. I like to get my shirts at Hobby Lobby. I also like to get them at like Target, just like their plain shirts. Sometimes I'll get like the men's shirt, you know? And then they're really nice. They're like $8 just for like a plain shirt. And then you can put anything you want on it, you know? So for this one, I like to get the one at Hobby Lobby when I want like a long sleeve shirt, just because I really do like that Comfort Colors brand, and I like the colors they have, and I like the feel of it. So just grabbing all of our little scraps there. Let's just go through and make sure that we got everything weeded out. Perfect. So that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim this part apart, because this is the part that I had to end up going back in and kind of positioning, and then this one will lay down just as it is. So this one we're going to keep together. So I'm just going to go through and just kind of trim around my design, just so when it's time to place it, hopefully I can get my placement really nice. And let's go ahead, we'll set all of our pieces over to the side here, bringing in my Easy Press mat and my shirt. Let's go ahead, I'll remove the tags. Bringing it in, the first thing I'm gonna do before I worry about anything else is I'm just gonna go ahead and lint roll it, just because I did buy this, I did not pre-wash it. I do not have my life together that much. I did not pre-wash this. I'm gonna make it, and then it will go in the dirty clothes hamper, and it will get washed when it gets washed, and then I will be surprised and wear it when I see it in there. So just bringing in my Easy Press just really quickly. I'm just gonna kind of heat up the area we're gonna be working on, just to kind of get some of that moisture out and make sure it's nice and flat for us. So a great trick too is I just like to kind of line up my arm seams just loosely. It doesn't have to be precise. So that kind of gives me the center of my shirt. And then I'll just kind of take my press and put it right there. And I'll just kind of set it there so it gives me a nice seam down the middle of my shirt. And like I said, I just do it loosely. It doesn't have to be perfect, but then that I can just very faintly kind of see this line, and that will just help me, right? I'm not going to stake my whole design on that line, but it is just a visual representation that I can kind of use, you know, to kind of work on that. So now bringing in our elements, I don't know where I should start, right? I don't know if I should start with the motherhood, but I don't think so, because I need to put this above and below it. So I kind of feel like I need to kind of get these placed first. Let's trim this so I can get it where I want to get it, nice and close to that collar. Okay. So I'm thinking the top one will probably go somewhere about there. And I think that looks good for the bottom. And then this is gonna go in the middle, something like this. Let me see if I can get this a little more. There we go. So I think it's gonna look something like this. I think that looks really nice. Oh, I got a little scrap underneath there. I wanna get that out. Let's see, what I'm gonna do is, how close to the collar do I want it? I think pretty close, because it is like a high neck. So I think that I am gonna keep it pretty close to my collar. So I think just about there for the surviving looks good. Now this, originally I had the surviving and this like where it would cut out together. But like I said, my piece of vinyl wasn't big enough for that. So working with what I have, I now have to go in and kind of line this up, where in Design Space, I had it perfect, right? It was perfectly centered, but that's okay. I don't know, that looks really nice to my eye, so I'm gonna go with it. You know, this is just kind of how I craft. I just wing it a lot of the times, but this is what I'm gonna go with. So now, I don't wanna press this because like my G here is on top of my other carrier sheet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of hold this in place, and I just wanna get this motherhood out of here. So that way I can press my gray layer, and then we'll go back in and press the motherhood layer. So just coming in, I want to keep this where I had it. So just being careful, and I'm just gonna try to grab just like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and bring in my heat press. Okay, so I will have to kind of press this in sections. I'm gonna do 330 for 30 seconds, and I will just kind of move my heat press around. And then this bottom part is not quite on my heat press mat. So I'm just gonna go in and pull that mat down a little bit, so that way I can finish pressing the rest of my design. Just like that. Just make sure it's flat. And then again, we'll just put our heat press on. And then let's kind of take a sneak peek at our top layer here. That looks pretty good. I might hit it with a little bit more heat. I think it might need just a little bit more. I didn't quite do the whole 30 seconds, so I might just give it a little more heat there. But it's also still a little warm, so yeah, there we go. Now it's more cool and it's coming off pretty good. So yeah, that looks really nice actually. So that laid down nice. Then I went to go pull the top one up when it was still a little hot, and it looked like it might need some more heat. But then once I gave it a couple more seconds, it looked like it laid down really nicely. So I would say just give it a little bit more time. I'm gonna remove that heat mat just to let some of that heat out so we can get this bottom part cooled down real quickly so we can move on to our next layer. All right, and that looks great. It laid down perfectly. So I could not be more happy with that. And then let's go ahead and bring in our motherhood. And actually, let's replace our mat first. So just bring our shirt back in. We will lay it right back down. And then let's bring our motherhood in. So now, once again, I'm going to focus on getting this centered where I like it within my design. And you can always, like, you know, bring up your design in Design Space to kind of see where things were to help you. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I mean, it's text, so it's not like super hard, but with that being said, I do want to make sure that it looks nice. I did spend a lot of time in Design Space designing it, so I do want it to come out nicely. So I think that looks pretty good. All right, perfect. So now, since the gray is now exposed because I took those carrier sheets off, I'm going to bring in just a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to lay that over my design just so none of that vinyl is exposed to heat directly. And then as you can see, some of my word is hanging off here, so I will have to press this in 2 sections. All right, and then that is definitely gonna need some time to cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over, and I'm gonna press it for 30 seconds on the back. And then once again, let's remove our heat press mat, and let's put this down on our desk so we can draw out that heat nice and quickly, get it cooled down so we can see how our glitter iron-on laid down. But I do know that it definitely needs to cool down before I peel it up, so just giving that ample time to cool, and that laid down beautifully. So let's go ahead and jump into our design. So right here, this is my finished design that I have been working on. And this is how I want it to look. And I think that I got it just so. So I just want to show you guys kind of how I went through the process and how I got this to look how I wanted it to look. So kind of the first thing I did was I like to just kind of go ahead and bring in all of my different text pieces that I know that I'm going to need. So like for this design, I started with surviving. So we will just double click, and then I will start with typing our first word. And then I just kind of go through and make a text box for every line that I want to have. So, and then we have one prayer. So double click, and then we'll just kind of set this up here. And then we need another one at a time. And of course it keeps wanting to, like, every time it makes a new text box, it comes right over my design, of course, but anywho, at a time. And then I need one more for motherhood. So just kind of coming in, bringing in all of my different lines of text. That's where I like to start. And that is kind of just my jumping off point. So that looks great. Now we have all 4 of our different text components. So now the next part is kind of, for me at least, the hardest part. For me, I personally chose to choose my fonts next, because once you go in and kind of start formatting things and you start getting it to look how you want, you can change the text, but then I feel like it kind of changes a lot of the formatting and a lot of the work you've done to just kind of get it the way that you like it. So for me, I like to kind of go in and pick my fonts before I kind of start shaping my design. Now, luckily for you guys, I have already done this. It took me forever. That's why I like to go ahead and do it. And then I'll come back and show you guys kind of what I chose, because I can take a whole day just to choose a font. It's a problem. So we'll just go through. This is the one I chose for all of my text except the motherhood. So it is called BFC Gold Coast. And I just thought it was a really, really nice kind of classic font. And I also like that it was all capital letters. So that is one thing that I was looking for. I did want it to be all capital. So I'm going to go ahead and just selecting everything. I'm going to go ahead and make this black, just because it's so hard for me to see that gray that it kind of like automatically comes in as. I don't know why, it bothers my eyes so bad, so I just turn it to black just so I can see it better. And then for the motherhood, I chose a font called The Hills. All right, and then I will just make this gray as well. All right, so now we have all of our components, and I mean, this is basically our shirt, right? So now kind of comes in, for me, the fun part, but also, it can be a little tricky. So I just want to kind of show you guys. So this is a reference. I saw a shirt that was made like this, and I immediately thought I can make that, right? So just kind of going off of the shirt that I saw and the inspiration, I just kind of ran with it, made it my own. But I think I did a really good job, and it's super close to the shirt that I was inspired by. So this is just kind of how I did that. So now just kind of putting things in place. I know that I need this top and then my bottom sentence to be curved. So going back here, I know before I started that I put this curve at 67. So I'm going to put this at 67, just turning downwards. And then for the bottom one, if you go back to curve, and if you can also slide, right? So you don't have, if you don't know the number, like when I did this side, I didn't know what number I was going to choose. I just slid it until I was happy, right? Now going back and kind of showing you guys, now I know that I used 67, but I didn't know before. And I also did not just know that my computer is touchscreen, and I just went to touch this and it moved. And you guys, I promise I have had this computer for like at least 3 years, and I had no idea that it was a touchscreen. So that just blew my mind. Anywho, so yeah, so I made this 67. So now for this one, like I said, you can slide. So to go the other way, you just slide upwards. And then at the same time, you can see here it's negative. So here I'm going to put negative 67, because I do want my curve to be the same. I don't know how you say it, but I want it to be like the same amount of curve, right? Because I want it to look like pretty much like a circle. That's kind of what we're going for. So I'm just going to kind of bring this down a little bit, because I know that my motherhood is going to go here, and then let's go back. And then my one prayer is going to go just kind of setting like this. So now we'll just kind of come in and refine it. And now this is going to be kind of, personal preference, either depending on what you like or what the inspiration, that you're looking at looks like. So at this point, you're kind of just mess with it. I'm just kind of fiddling with it until I am happy with the way it looks. So that is what I'm going to do now. So this looks pretty good to me. I think that looks really nice actually. So I want the surviving and add a time. If I click the surviving, hit shift on my keyboard and then hit add a time, you can see on our layers panel, those two are now selected. So I'm going to come over to align and hit center horizontally. And that's just going to make sure that those two are lined up with one another, which is going to help me a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those two just so I can make sure that these two, as I am kind of going along, those will kind of stay together and allow me to work within them. So that looks pretty good. Our motherhood here, I want to bring this over just a little, just about like that. Now the motherhood is going to be cut on another vinyl, so I will just make that a different color so it puts it on a different sheet, right? So that's pretty much it. What I did do after that is now my surviving and add a time are already attached. So right now those two are going to cut exactly how they are. So now all of my one color will cut just like this, and that will make placement super easy. And then my motherhood will cut on a different one. So for this, I am going to go to weld, and that will just make sure that this cuts exactly like this. So I think that this is going to kind of be my final answer here. I messed with this and messed with this until this is as good as I can get it. I think that it looks really nice, so I am happy with it. Now, just selecting everything, I have all of my black layer attached, so that's all going to cut exactly how it is, and then we'll just place our motherhood separately. Now I know that, let's see, the height is a little bit more than the width. I know that I want the width to be about 11 inches. So with that said, I'm going to make this 11 inches. That looks perfect. I'm going to go to make it. And I will have to use my large mat for this, so that is fine. And I'm just going to make sure that both of my mats are mirrored. Okay, so for this one, it's just going to be a regular iron-on. And then for my motherhood, it's going to be a glitter iron-on. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out, and then I'll see you at the desk. So here's my shirt. What do you guys think? I love it. I think it came out so cute, and I am so happy with it because, I do a lot of my designing in Design Space, and I really use Design Space and lean on Design Space a lot to make sure that my placement is how I like it. So having to unattach these and then place them myself was a little bit scary for me, but I did it and I think it came out great. Please consider subscribing, liking, and I would love to hear from you, so leave me a comment. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!